Oh, why doesn't it let you find a filter first, you guys? It's my all-time most annoying complaint about going live. Hi, good to see you, PYM. You know what? We might have to do this one. I have you live on YouTube as well. The topic of this is why most relationships fail. Thanks, you guys. Thank you. Oh, this is my dog wanting to join you guys. This is Isabella. I'm going to write the topic, why most, I'm doing YouTube and my Instagram at the same time. Fail. Okay, and then I'm going to pin that. Ugh, come on. Pin. There we go. Okay, you guys, sorry. So we're going to start with the obvious first. Number one usually is money. Oh, that sucks to hear, right? But it's true. It's money. If you look up the statistics with the divorce rates, which is usually the, I guess, most telling. What was an accident? Luscious, Lucius. Hi, good to see you. If you look up the divorce rate statistics, it is accurate in this conversation today because it's a way we can quantify relationships because we don't have any other way we can really quantify relationships, breaking up at this point anyway. So we have to use divorce information for this. So number one is money. And it's interesting because when a divorce happens and it's with a man that doesn't have money to provide, a lot of women fall into poverty, which is really sad after a divorce. I can't get this right. Sorry. So usually they're having financial issues and that's why they get married. And then when they get a divorce, they're in an even worse financial situation. So, sometimes men get really upset because women are very adamant about a man being able to provide in a relationship. And there's solid evidence to back up the fact that this is one of the key ingredients in making a relationship work. And it's a cold, hard, sad fact, right? And like no one wants to hear it, but it's just how it is. And I think some women will still get married with a man that cannot provide, maybe because they had a child or they fell in love and she feels stuck in the relationship. But it's so important, you guys, just for so many reasons. When kids come into the picture, they cost money. They need to go to college. If they play sports, that costs money. If they're in any clubs or whatever, that costs money. So you see how marriage can turn into something pretty expensive, even though it's rewarding stuff. So that's why money really takes a toll on relationships. So the best thing you can do if you're a man is to make sure that you're in a place where you deserve a family, because having a family is a privilege, not a right. And you have to be able to afford a family. So some men simply can't. And that's okay. Do something different, instead of just having the job that's not earning you enough money. And they found that $50,000 a year or less leads to way more divorces than people making $50,000 a year or more. So if you're making less than $50,000 a year, that doesn't mean you're not marriage material. It just means that you need to do something a little more or a little different to make more money. And that could be starting a business, doing a side hustle, whatever you need to do. You have to step it up to be able to afford a family, period. Sorry, not sorry, but I'm not going to sugarcoat shit. Those are just cold, hard numbers and facts, okay? Another number that's really high, 43%, these are according to 114 different studies, show that people weren't equipped for marriage, and that led to a divorce. What they mean by equipped is that a relationship in and of itself is not easy. So what does that mean exactly? Well, no one teaches you this stuff in school. No one teaches you conflict resolution in school. No one teaches you gender differences in school. No one teaches you how to compromise in a relationship that both people win in school, right? So then, for whatever reason, people get an ego and they think they don't need help in relationships. If you look at my comments in not YouTube necessarily, but on Instagram, if you look at my comments on almost every single post, you'll see someone that says, I don't need help. Yes, the fuck they do, because everybody needs help. You know what? I'm a dating coach, right? And I've been a dating coach for 8 years. And before that, I was a life coach, a certified life coach. And everything in your life is a reflection of what you don't know, if it's going the way you don't want it to go. Okay. So if your life is perfect, that means that you've done a really good job of learning about life, everything about life. If something's not going the way that you don't want it to go, that means you don't know enough. Doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you suck. It doesn't mean you're horrible. It means you need to learn more. So why say you don't need to learn something that everybody needs to learn? Why do people have this problem and this issue and this block? It's usually an internal issue. I help people with that. I help people understand what the internal issue is and what the block is. My one-on-one clients are light years ahead since working with me, because it's a very individualized issue. It's never just, I see that there's a bunch of people on my live stream right now, so I'm just going to give you a packaged answer that one size fits all. It doesn't work like that. Everybody has a different internal issue that they need to work on. A lot of times I've noticed is self-love, especially for females, self-worth. And a lot of men have a problem with just having no relationship skills. Now, women are slightly better at this because we have been socialized to be more social creatures. And, we've learned to vent to other women and then validate. And we've learned to encourage each other and love each other and connect a lot better than men have. However, women are not good at understanding the differences between men and women. So they don't take the time to learn it. Most people don't. Hi, Caleb. And John and Steve, Ismail. Sorry, I'm not catching up on this. Yes, Lucius, they teach algebra. They don't teach anything you need in school. That's exactly my point, right? So, and my first inkling of this was my college degree was in communications. And what I learned in communications blew me away, because I never learned anything like that in elementary school, middle school, high school, and the first part of college. What I learned about communications is gender communications. We actually had a full quarter on gender communications and the differences between genders. And then I learned about family communication and learned really cool stuff in that, such as why kids have the terrible twos. The kids have the terrible twos because it's a communication problem. They are trying to communicate that they need food, water, whatever it is at that moment, but they can't articulate it. They don't know how yet. They haven't learned how to speak yet. So the problem is they're trying to say, I want water. And they're like, bleh, 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 bleh. That's all the parent hears. Parents like, bleh, bleh, bleh. Okay. And then they get really thirsty and they get frustrated. So they start screaming, and the parent gets frustrated because they don't understand what's going on. And then you need to go to timeout. You need to be quiet. Well, they were trying to communicate that they need water. So what you need to do is teach them sign language, and that avoids the terrible twos. So I learned really cool stuff like that in college with my communication degree. And I realized that other people weren't learning that cool stuff. And I got so fascinated by this that I went on to learn about conflict resolution and relationships and so on and so forth. And I started learning about this stuff back in college. So if I started learning about this stuff back in college, and then I got my certificate in life coaching, I've been working with couples for almost 2 decades now, and I've been focused on relationships, specifically in love and dating, for almost 8 years. And I myself still have to remember the tools and the education that I learned. What are people doing that have not learned this stuff at all? Well, they are failing like crazy. And most likely they're going to be blaming their partner. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to clean up after themselves. They don't know how to make money. They don't know how to... Okay, well, where's your part? Because guess what? The 50% of the relationship that fails is your fault. And I know a lot of people hate hearing that. But it's your fault you chose that person. There's a reason why. There's an internal issue going on, something about your picker, and you chose that person. Okay, so let's get this clear. 50% of the relationship's failure is your fault. Let that sink in. And I've had terrible exes. I've had terrible exes where I'm like, they're just a piece of crap. Like, they're a jerk. I cannot believe they treated me like that. However, because I'm a coach and I understand true intelligence, I have to take some responsibility. I chose them. Why did I choose them? There's a reason why. Yes, they were better than my ex before that. Yes, I made progress. Well, I was fooled by a facade. I listened to all the bells and whistles of a man trying to win me over instead of the substance, okay? And little things like that I've learned along the way. And if you take responsibility for your half, you're going to keep finding better and better and better potential partners as you go along. And your relationships will improve because you're taking responsibility for your part always. It's essential you take responsibility for your part. So all people, capital ALL people, need to learn relationship skills. And if you say you don't, you have an ego problem. Okay? Because I even dropped my ego. After I learned about communications in college and I learned about life and how to love myself, I still dropped my ego. When I was like 28 or something, I dropped my ego. I said, you know what? I'm single and I don't want to be. Maybe I don't know enough. Maybe I need to learn more. Maybe, just maybe an expert knows more than I do. So I turned myself on to all the experts. I read tons of books. I went back to my communication study. I did everything I possibly could to learn about relationships. I'm not saying it was easy, and it took me a really long time. But I started learning where I was misstepping in relationships after I did all that work of all those studies. And you'd be surprised. Little tiny things make a really huge difference in relationships, including little bids. Bids are just something like trying to get someone's attention, and you say, oh, look at that dog, and your partner just ignores you. That kills you a little inside. Just a little bit. Not enough to break up with someone over it. But if you keep doing that stuff over and over and over to your partner, the relationship bank account grows smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until one point maybe it's negative. And then they want to leave and no one's happy. And then you just have a negative overall sentiment towards your partner. And anything they say and do is annoying. And that's your fault. That's your fault. Because you allowed the resentment to happen. So I know that this may sound foreign, but I talk about all of this in my relationship course. It's currently the title. I don't really like it, but I created it for divorce court, and it's called 7 Proven Methods to Save Your Relationship. And the reason why I don't like that title is because a lot of people just see the title and think they don't need it, but everybody needs it. So I need to title it something that everybody needs. So if you guys have suggestions on what to title it, I would love that. And if I end up naming it that, then I would give you a free course. Not everyone is majoring in communication because communication ain't easy. Well, I didn't know anything about communication before I took, before I took communications. And here's the thing. Just because I got my degree in it doesn't mean I'm the best at it, but I chose to learn about it. I dropped my ego and chose to learn about something I didn't know. So I teach communication in my course, and I teach communication to my clients. And they're able to benefit from my many, many, many years of studies in this area. So the key, if you don't have a degree in communication, is to get courses, find a mentor, get a coach, whatever you need to do. But there's no excuse not to learn. There just isn't. And just like that statistic says, 43% of people ending their marriage was because they weren't equipped. That's a really high number, you guys. And it's probably even higher in relationships and dating with people you don't actually marry. Think about that. It's probably even higher. It's probably 90%, right? It's probably 90%. It's a lot. Think about that, right? Because if you don't have proper relationship skills, people notice that on a subconscious level. They don't know how to articulate it. They just think, oh, they're really cool and I really like being around them. They're really easy to talk to. They don't know how to articulate it. But they know somehow they're really skilled at relationships and people. Even on a first date, someone can tell if you would be a good partner or not. So even if you just want to date, you still need relationship skills. Well, checking that ego is a start. We all should do that. Yes, agree. And I had to do that too. I had to do that. My biggest ego check was back when I first started taking acting class. And I think that everyone should take acting classes at least once in their life, like an improv class. I took a Meisner class. And Meisner is all about inner work, right? If you have any issues in your real life, then you have them even more magnified on stage and in front of the camera. So I walk in like I'm hot shit to acting class, like this is going to be easy. I've been modeling. I know how to be in front of the camera. And I get into acting class, and the acting coach just tore me down in front of everybody, in front of all the students, everybody. Just ripped me a new one and said, you need to take your motherfucking mask off. I'm like, what mask? What are you talking about? That was my first ego check. My very, very first ego check. And everybody agreed. All the students were like, hands on hips, like, yeah, you ain't shit. I was like, whoa, I ain't shit. I needed to check myself. I need to understand, like, what is it about me that they aren't connecting with? I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't being real. I thought I was, but I wasn't. And how many times do you have people in your life that check you like that? How many? Any? That you actually trust and admire. That's the key. Because I'm that person in my client's life. I'll check them. I'll say, wait a second, in that conflict, you are in the wrong. I love you. I know you pay me, and I'm not cheap, but you are in the wrong in that conflict. And I'll tell you why. We'll step back. We'll start at the beginning. You didn't validate her feelings. Well, I didn't know I was supposed to do that. I didn't know she was venting. Did you ask? No. Well, you know what I mean? So there's so much that goes into being a better person And that's what relationships are about ultimately, because your partner is a direct reflection of how you're doing. If they're unhappy in the relationship, not just in general, of course, if you came into the relationship and they're happy, if your partner's happy when they're single, you got together and they become unhappy in the relationship, check your motherfucking self. You need to step back, say, what's going on? How am I not measuring up? How am I not stepping up to the promises I made you when we were just dating? Most people don't do that. Most people just do not take the time to check themselves. Then what happens is their partner's unhappy. Maybe they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to articulate it. You need to take responsibility. So if they don't know how to articulate it, maybe help them out. Say, hey, what's bothering you? I know something is. How about take this course? I found this course. Maybe take this, maybe learn this, maybe read this book, like whatever you can to help them, guide them. But it's your duty to do your part. If you're educated and the other person isn't, it might not work out, but it stands a better chance than no one having any relationship education. I lost my point there. I was saying something really good and then I forgot what I was saying. Did you hear me, T? Or were you ignoring me? Oh, so if your partner is happy and you're single and they become unhappy, you played a part in that. Let's say that they become to the point where they're just awful to be around. They're just moping all the time and just, they probably got to the point of resentment with you. That doesn't mean they're a terrible person. That doesn't mean that they're horrible in a relationship. You didn't take the time to understand them. You didn't see, hear, understand them. So we all have to take some responsibility in relationships. I'm not perfect. Even though I've studied this stuff forever, I still fuck up sometimes. But what I have that is an advantage compared to other people is I have tools and I have education. And sometimes in the heat of a moment, I have to stop and think about my tools and think about my education and say, oh, okay, I fucked up. I forgot that the man needed a step. I forgot men are different than women in a conflict, and they need to take a step and process feelings because they have a hard time processing feelings and talking at the same time. That's right. I forgot. So sometimes I still have to do that myself. And if I still have to do that, what are you guys doing with no education? Well, maybe it's tough to be held up to someone else's ideal. Why are you in a relationship with them then? That should be discussed in dating. In dating, that's when you need to decide if you are within someone's ideal. If you're not, move the F on. There's billions of people on this planet. Billions. You have multiple soulmates. Move on. Every time you're dating someone, you're making sure that there's compatibility in all areas. That's what dating is for. Dating is getting to know each other. That's why you shouldn't sleep together so fast, because once you sleep together, then the oxytocin bonds are connected, and then it's harder to get out of a relationship if there's no compatibility. But when it comes to a relationship, that should have been discussed before the relationship. People need to stop being afraid to talk and have serious talks. Before I got in my relationship, I stated what I needed. Before I jumped into an actual commitment, I said, before I actually commit to you, I want to make sure we're on the same page. These are my needs, wants, desires. If you can't fulfill that, we shouldn't get in this committed relationship. If you can, we could work. And I would want the same from my partner, which I felt was communicated. Does that help you guys? So I sell a course, and I told you guys I hate the name of it, the 7 proven methods to save your relationship. And I made it for divorce court, and it's sold on The Real, the TV show called The Real. And I offer it to you for a crazy low price. The cheapest way to work with me one-on-one is $15,000, and I'm actually raising my prices this year. And my course is only $49.99. So it's much cheaper, and it's over an hour of people text these, which is totally okay, weird. It's over an hour of content, and I even learned a lot putting it together, and sometimes I rewatch it just to stay fresh on relationship skills, especially after a conflict. I definitely go back and re-listen just to make sure that I did everything in as best as I possibly could. And that's all you can do in a relationship, doing everything that you possibly can do, the best you can possibly do. And if it falls short of someone's expectations, you're probably not meant to be together. The key is just doing your best. You watched the show The Real Lucius Luscious? Nice. Yeah, it's sold on that show. Well, there ain't a billion in my neighborhood. Hi, you guys. People keep joining. I'm sorry. I have a hard time welcoming you to the live stream while I'm talking, but I went on a rant. And I hope that you guys got some information out of this. My course is over an hour long, where I share a lot more information about why relationships fail. I also share information on the relationship winners. We call them winners, that people that stay in a marriage for 10 years or longer, because the average cutoff is around 8 years for marriage. So people that stay in a relationship for 10 years or longer most likely will work out for the rest of their lives, versus 8 years or shorter. So the winners in relationship, I talk about those in the course. I talk about conflict resolution. I talk about love languages. I talk about the differences between men and women. I talk about sex, romance, all this really, really amazing stuff. So I'll have the link on YouTube here. I'll have the link, and then the link should be in my on my website, which is in my bio. You can always message me. I'll send you a link for it. I'm sure I have it in story swipe ups. It's also my story highlights for a relationship course. So thank you so much for watching, you guys. I'm about to go on a date with my partner, and I truly appreciate you guys, watching and asking questions. I'm looking for a real one. Well, this course is for you, because you'll learn extremely important relationship skills for the one. So this is completely different skill sets than just hunting for one-offs. Hunting for one-offs, you have to be good at pickup artistry. This is completely different. This is real relationship skills for the real queen or king that you're searching for, or that you're wanting to keep. Well, my dog snores. Again, thank you so much, you guys, for watching. Let me know if you have any questions at all. And again, I appreciate you so much. My website is lovementorchelsea.com. I love you.